Hello and welcome to The Telescope. Every week we'll bring you a fresh insight from the biggest car market in the world. Today we're on the test drive event of the Zeekr X. This was the car that broke the Shanghai Auto Show by announcing pricing starts at only just 25,000 euros. My car, my Volkswagen ID.3, the higher spec, is about 3,000 RMB more expensive. That's about 500 euros more expensive than the base model of this Zeekr X. That's just wrong. Why is that? Because this car has 100 more horsepower, 110 kilometer more range, a full-on luxury interior. Zeekr is a new brand, especially to the international audience. Then why you should pay attention to this? Because this is the mother brand of all Geely's electric cars. This shares the platform with the Smart 1 and the Smart 3, and most importantly, the upcoming Volvo EX30. If we step to the side, look at the waistline, it has many similarities. So by looking at this, you will have a very good idea of what the Volvo EX30 is going to be like. Zeekr is billing this car as a small compact SUV. However, in fact, it is only about 4 millimeters taller than my Volkswagen ID.3. Then why is the ID.3 a hatchback? This is an SUV. Well, it's about this waistline. This waistline on the ID.3 is roughly here. So by having a very high waistline and at this point coming even higher, it has this very muscular shoulders. So it is an SUV. When you sit inside, the seating position is SUV-like, but you need to know that this really is a giant hatchback instead of a real SUV. This car shares the platform with the Smart 1, but is about 18 centimeters longer in its length. Most of that went into the rear overhang, so this has a much bigger boot than the Smart 1. This now is, I would say, still not spectacular, but about average in this class, and you have a bit of underfloor storage. The major weakness of the ID.3 is its interior material quality, and I have seen that the European facelifted version has improved that by a bit, but it's still a long way off. It's nowhere near to the Zeekr X. Everywhere you see is full-on luxury, soft touch leather everywhere, and look at all of these contrast metal detailing, and listen to this. This is just a hook for you to hang some stuff if you need it. Listen to the sound of this. I mean, this just doesn't feel right in a 25,000 euro electric vehicle. If you think just the luxury interior is all it has for the Zeekr X, you're very much mistaken. Watch this. The screen moves. This center console also moves. You might ask, why is it doing that? Well, this can be turned into a passenger screen. This center console moves because sometimes if you park, you don't have room to open the door on this side. Now you can very easily walk across and exit from the passenger side. And these two are not the only things that moves on the interior. Now the screen is right in front of me. This car has another party trick I'll show you now. It's called the zero gravity mode. I'll now be transferred into this seating position where it's supposed to evenly load all of your body weight onto the seat, and this is a much more comfortable position for you to rest, but I don't recommend you do this while the car is moving, because then the seatbelt is not going to work. Now you might ask, in a car this small, how can it have a seat reclined to that position? Of course, it has to do something extraordinary. I've never seen this in a contemporary car before. Let's head to the back seat. It can achieve this zero gravity mode because look at these two rear seats. It can fold up to free up even more space for the front seat to recline just a bit further back. And when it returns to its normal position, as you can see, this will drop back to its original position. You can really see in a very compact space, they have thought about just about every detail. Can you do something else with this seat fold up? Yes, of course, because look underneath here, it says pet. Anyone who owns a dog or a cat is gonna love this space. This is for your pet to come along with you in the car. How sweet. In terms of space, it's a similar story because the wheelbase of this Zeekr X is very similar to the Smart One. So longitudinal space, it's very similar. However, the headroom is a bit less because this car is shorter, about 8 centimeters shorter in its height. So there isn't that kind of open, airy feeling with the Smart One. And you don't get a sunblinder. This is a fixed piece of glass. All the cars on the launch today are the twin motor version. That is equivalent to the Brabus Smart. 428 horsepower, 3.7 seconds to 100 kilometers an hour. Excessive amount of performance. But the interesting bit is the pricing. The dual motor version is only about 20,000 RMB more expensive than the single motor version. So for 3,000 or 4,000 euros, you can get a car from 7 seconds to 100 kph suddenly to 3.7 seconds. I would still recommend most people to buy that single motor version, not because it's cheaper, but since when is 6.7 seconds to 100 kph becomes slow? That is fast enough. However, if you've never driven a car this fast and wants to go for this dual motor version on this, I think it's the most appropriate car to buy the dual motor version because the price premium over the single motor is that much smaller. It's only 3,000 or 4,000 euros. Just bear in mind that when you go for the dual motor version, you will lose a bit of about 10% of range. The single motor version of this car on the 66 kilowatt hour battery is rated at 560 kilometer CLTC. The WLTP range is roughly 450, and we can put on the screen about the EPA conversion. If you go for the dual motor version, it's rated at 510 kilometer CLTC, so you see 50 kilometers less range. On the chassis setting, this is a much softer car than the Smart One. The Smart One, maybe because of its Brabus version, is, I wouldn't say firm, but it is firmer than this car. This is easily everyday comfortable. There's one area where you can tell this car has a serious amount of performance is in the throttle pedal. It's heavy, almost Porsche level heavy. I mean, I think this is a very responsible setting. 428 horsepower, 3.7 seconds to 100 kph is an insane amount of performance, if a little bit dangerous for people who've never exposed to this kind of performance. With a throttle pedal this heavy, I don't think people's gonna just play with it. The steering, I still prefer the steering on the ID3. This is, I mean, it's okay. This steering is faster than the ID3. That I do like, but the overall feel, I still prefer the ID3. Agility, this doesn't feel as agile as the ID3, but nothing else does on the road. Well, this curb-to-curb turning radius, I believe, is 5.7 meters. That is average for this size. The ID3 is 5.1. So yeah, the ID3 do have that. On the MVH though, this beats the ID3 hands over fist. I mean, when I step back into my ID3 tonight, it's gonna feel that there are holes in the doors to let the noise come in. And it's not using outrageous materials. I mean, this is single layer glass. Up until this point, this is a glowing review for the Zeekr X, and I do think this is a very good car. However, here are my dislikes. This interior, yes, is head and shoulders above any other car at this price range. However, on the design, is a bit busy and fussy. I've mentioned this in the Zeekr 009 review, that all of the materials are great, all of the functionalities are great, but some of the designs are very sort of in-your-face luxury. They've corrected, they've toned down a little bit on this Zeekr X, but still, in some areas, especially if you look towards here, it's a very busy area with so many lines going everywhere. And why there are separations at some of the materials are just too complicated. While I understand not every car has to be minimalism, like the car we reviewed last week, the Avatar 11, that is quite full on and quite stylish and has its own idea for its interior as well. But it feels cleaner than this. This in some area feels overcomplicated. Second dislike is this rear window. Now this car has a very high waistline, so all of the glass areas are sort of smaller compared to, let's say, an ID3. However, on the rear window, this problem is even worse because look here, it rises up. And this triangle bit, I don't quite understand it. I know this is very much a family feature that first showed up on the Volvo XC40, now on this, and in the upcoming Volvo EX30 will all have this feature. But what it means is your rear window is very small. And look how much this rear window can only drop down to. This is it. I want to close the review on the Zeekr X by comparing the 25,000 euro electric vehicles that you can buy today in China versus what you will be able to buy in Europe in 2025, and that is the upcoming Volkswagen ID2. That is 4.1 meters long, 30 centimeters shorter than this. That is front motor, single motor, significantly less power, LFP battery versus NCM battery, a very basic interior, an interior even more basic than the ID3, while this is full-on luxury. And this is available to buy on the market today. Of course, when this car goes into Europe, it won't be 25,000, maybe 33, 34,000. What I'm trying to get across is this Zeekr X shatters what is possible with a 25,000 euro or 200,000 renminbi car is available even in China, the most competitive electric vehicle market in the world. And that shows just how advanced this car is. When this arrives in Europe, even with a price tag slightly higher because of import tax and VAT and etc., will still be several generations ahead in terms of features, luxury, and most importantly, cost to its European rivals. That is all from the Telescope today. If you enjoyed this video, keep watching, keep subscribing. More videos coming along very soon.